the average brain in America idles way too high. And so that brain that just idles on the edge leaves no margin for life. Just a simple event happens and people are in tears or people are angry or upset, and it's like biofeedback lowers the idle point permanently. It's like you can get yourself into a very comfortable place, and then you have margin. You have margin for all the things that you made a bad grade, or you wrecked your car, or you have a flat tire, or even divorce or death. Like, it's like you have to have the space for life to happen.
Thank you so much for joining us on another awesome episode of Bioenergetics Beat. I'm Heather Gray, a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and certified bioenergetic practitioner, and this episode is brought to you today by Nikki, Unleash the Wellness Within. It's a non-invasive, easily affordable, highly effective approach to wellness. It's a wearable device that puts frequency better based life in your hands and on your wrist. You're going to want to make sure to stick to the very, very end because, as usual, we've got a giveaway that you're not going to want to miss out on. But you're also not going to want to miss out on one word that my next guest has to say, because we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, resetting your nervous system, and why so many people, like myself included, when you focus on the physical, and then we hit plateaus or we, backslide and we can't understand why. And it wasn't until 2020 for me reading the book, The Body Keeps Score, and learning a little bit more about the nervous system stuff and putting these things into play that, oh my gosh, magic started to happen. So I love, love, love this topic. And I have a feeling we're going to absolutely adore our next guest. Without further ado, let's welcome Dana Hargus to the show. Yay!
Hi, it's great to be here.
Yay, awesome. So you got a little bit of a twang, my dear. Where are you from?
I am from Ada, Oklahoma.
Okay. Right now, this is a Canadian company, but I'm an American from Colorado, but I'm living in Mexico.
Ah,
So we're all over the place right now. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started. I know that most folks, when they're in the alternative health space, talking about things that are a little on fringe, unfortunately, it's because they've got their own pain to purpose story, and I imagine you're probably no different.
that's right. I was an educator for 9 years, and most of that time was spent with special education children and also some delinquents as well. And on top of my professional life, I have adopted children, and one of my children was struggling. And I would look around at the children I taught and even at what was going on with my son, and I just felt like what we had available to help was failing. Like therapy alone was not helping my students or my son. And medication I found to be often detrimental, not just not helping, but doing harm. So I
Well,
was
For those
very
for those in the back, she used the word detrimental. Actually, could you, before you go on, can you dive a little deeper into that piece?
sure. If you just print, like when I have new clients now, I'm a mental health counselor. If I have new clients now, I will print for them the sheets that the pharmacy gives you that apparently nobody reads. Like I don't know what to think of the fact that the people are like, "Where did you get that?" And I'm like, "Well, it's the same thing that comes in your pharmacy bag that you probably throw away, but I just printed it online because if you look." The side effects of mental health meds are often things like homicide, suicide, rage. And, we're even giving these to children. I feel like at least when an adult has them, an adult consented to their own body. Like an adult made that decision. I don't necessarily think it's the best one. I think often they don't know what else to do. And I'm not saying that there's never been a med that helped anybody. I'm not saying that. I have met some people, honestly, a handful, that have done beautifully. But when that happens, it's usually a low dose of a single med. It's not a stack of six. And it's problematic. We're giving children adult doses of medication, and then we wonder why they're out of control. And the children that seem to get the most medication are children in foster care, which again, I find appalling because they don't have a free will, and they honestly don't often have an advocate. Sometimes the child has a new worker and a new foster home, and me, a paid professional, is the continuity in their life. I find that appalling. And then on top of that, um, they're on enough meds to kill a cow, if we want to use an Oklahoma acronym there. Uh, it's insane what we're doing to people, and the fact, and it's not just children. I see adults that are often over medicated and miserable, just not doing well at all. So, as I looked around my classroom, as I looked around my life, I'm just like, this is not good. And I heard about biofeedback, and I was going to school. I was getting a master's in counseling with a plan to get my license. And I was kind of going, not, I wouldn't say slow, but I was planning to just kind of do it a little bit at a time. I was very busy. I had a house full of kids and a busy life. But as I began to hear about biofeedback, I wanted that for my son. And I just thought, I'm going to speed this up. And I left it. I left the educational arena and finished school as quick as I could. And after that, it takes another year and a half to get the license. But once I had that license in hand, I got biofeedback trained. I had been talking to people all over the country, and there were only two people in Oklahoma then that did biofeedback. Now there are lots, but there were just two, and I'd been to talk with them. And I got the training, brought the equipment home, and set it up in my den. And I started with my son, who was 14. And he was on a low dose of medication. They wanted him on lots more, and I just refused. Literally, if I took him off that, he couldn't go to school. They would just call, they would call and say, something's not right. You need to come get him. And so I kept, just going back and forth, trying new things, trying different things, trying new tools and techniques. But I gave him this test that we used to give. It was called a test of variable attention, or a TOVA. So basically, there's four quadrants on the screen. You have a clicker in your hand, and it's mind-numbingly boring. But it says when you see a dot in this part of the screen, you click. When you see a dot in these others, you don't click. And then the second half is kind of some opposite task. Well, at the end of that, on meds, he scored unscorable, which basically means even on medication, he didn't even hit the comparing him to other 14 to 16-year-old males. He didn't fall in that at all. So, and I really wasn't surprised. I knew that it was hard and that his life was hard. And I did one session a day for 40 days. And at the end of the 40 days, my mom and I were talking, and I said, I think he's better. And she said, I do too. And then that night I was in bed just thinking, what if we're both just wanting him to be better? It's like he's heading into high school. I've never had a week of school since he came to live with me that they haven't called me for something. And so I gave him another test off medication this time because it was summer, and he wasn't on anything. I just kind of dealt with it in the summer. And he scored within normal limits. And I wept. And he was like, I'm sorry, Mom, I'm sorry. And I'm like, you didn't do anything wrong. It's good. Like this is good. So then I go to the doctor and I explain to the doctor. I never told the doctor I did the biofeedback. I felt like that was too much for him to get. Like, I just thought that would be appalling to him. I just said, we're finding this new thing, and he's doing so well. And it was so interesting because normally, even as old as he was, because he has some learning problems, it's not just impulse control. Even as old as he was, like, he would come into the doctor's office and like touch things and fiddle with the end of the thing. He would just mess around. And while I'm talking to the doctor, he's sitting in a chair, not moving, just waiting. And in my mind, I'm like, wow, like, we've been there every month for years. Like, he knows us. And the doctor said, "What?" And he said, "Aren't you here to get your script filled?" And I said, "Not really." I said, this is what we're doing. I'm going to start back to school without meds. I'll keep the teacher forms coming, and I'll do all that, but I just want to see." And he said, "That's ridiculous." And I said, "But look at him. Like he's like, and he just, I mean, he wrote the script and threw it down on the table and walked out. And I left it laying there and I left, and we never did go back. But we went into ninth grade. Eighth grade, there was 5 special ed classes. By the end of the first semester, we were down to 2. And
Wow.
I'm not implying that my son does not still have learning problems. He just no longer has impulse issues. Like, I really never thought he would drive. I never thought there was a lot of things that I really did not think. He is now 40 and he lives with me, but he drives, he works, he has a life. He needs my support, but he has a level of independence that without biofeedback he would have never had.
That is absolutely incredible. And my God, you do not look old enough to have a 40-year-old.
Well, I
Oh,
was
I forget. Sorry.
he's
Adopted.
adopted, yeah.
Adopted.
So I was about 16 when he was born. He just wasn't born to me.
I got it. Thank you for clarifying. Sorry, I missed that
That's
piece.
okay.
I mean, but you're just a friggin' angel, like on earth. Like anybody who's worked in with disabilities, kids with disabilities, and behavioral issues. I mean, it does take a special kind of angel to work in that group, and it's so needed. There's been so much research right now, and I remember when my kid was born, 20 years ago. There was a research paper out. Time magazine stated that that generation was the first generation to not have life expectancy go up. That for the first time in human history, life expectancy was going backwards. And so, what we've done to this younger generation, with the drugs, with the artificial lighting, with the chemical foods, with the, I could go on and on and on and on. I think there's so many things. That whole frog in the pot analogy, right? Where we're just slowly turning up the heat, and people don't realize that ADHD in kids is not supposed to be normal. Alzheimer's and dementia as we get older is not supposed to be normal, but we've kind of accepted these things now as normal, and we don't think twice about slapping a kid on a prescription, and it's just heartbreaking.
Right. I agree. And I think that we see these things as normal. And it's like there is nothing normal. It's like depression is not a Prozac deficiency. It's wild to me. Like I said, and I believe everybody has a right to do what they want. But I feel like we have been sold a bill of goods that is full of lies and discrepancies and is so not helpful when there are things you can do that are concrete and easy that will absolutely change your life. But people don't even believe in the easy things because there's like, why would it matter if I ate fruit instead of drinking fruit flavored slushies? I don't know why that would make a difference. It's wild that we don't understand the value of food, the value of good air, the value of water, the value of learning to breathe. People don't even have oxygen in their body and they don't know it and nobody's worried about it, but they're having 6 panic attacks a day, and so they take 3 Xanax. Like none of it makes sense. And I feel like my real goal at this point in my life is to show that mental health can be done another way.
Oh, absolutely. I had an adult client that I worked with me for a year, and I thought he knew after a year. But there was this one day he's like, "Heather, my anxiety's getting really bad again. Can you suggest another supplement?" I said, "Have you gotten your bare feet on the ground today? No. Have you done your meditation today? No. Have you journaled today? No. Have you gotten, and of course he just kept saying no, no, no. And I was like, if you haven't gotten what I've tried to teach you by now, like I can't help you. Like this is no longer working for you because the fact that you're asking for another supplement, like that kind of goes against my religion and what I'm trying to do here for you. So it is sad. You said we have been sold a bill of goods, and even after working with someone for a year, I couldn't get him unbrainwashed, right? Oops. So anywho, so actually on this step right here, we're going to take a quick pause for a break. When we come back, I want to dive in deeper on talking about resetting the nervous system. How does that play into mental health, into healing, and exactly diving in a little deeper into what biofeedback exactly is and how that works. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
There's a new word for wellness, Nikki. Nikki is your personal wellness companion, a sleek wearable device that lets you choose from a variety of programs to match your day. With a simple tap on the Nikki screen, you can explore wellness programs created for different moments and lifestyles. Need a lift? Select energy. Looking to unwind? Tap stress and anxiety. Want to feel more at ease? Choose pain. Heading out on a trip? Try travel to help you feel ready for new adventures. From busy mornings to quiet evenings, Nikki puts a variety of wellness experiences right at your fingertips and on your wrist. Life moves fast. Nikki moves with you. It's a portable way to bring wellness technology into your everyday routine, wherever life takes you. Your day, your choice, your wellness program. Nikki Wellness Technology. Delivering frequency enhanced health. We are Nikki.com.
Fantastic. Well, I'm super excited to dive in deeper, aren't you? So tell us a little bit. Let's first start off with biofeedback. What is biofeedback? How does it work?
Okay, so more specifically, biofeedback is a broad term that we use here to speak of something more specifically would be called neurofeedback, which means giving the brain information about itself. There are lots of forms. There's heart rate variability biofeedback, there's body temperature biofeedback. Anytime you're giving the body information about itself, that's a form of biofeedback. But specifically, our primary intervention is neurofeedback, which is actually brain exercise. That would be the simplest way to understand. Just like you can go to the gym and make your body stronger and more flexible, biofeedback exercises your brain. What it would look like is you're sitting in a chair facing a computer screen, and then I have a secondary screen, and you would have electrodes on your head, not because anything goes into the brain, but the reason for the electrodes is to take the brain waves that are going on in the head and pull it to the screen, so we can work with that. And then you get your feedback from the screen in front of the client. And the way that looks currently, that the technology changes so rapidly now, as computers change, biofeedback just gets better and better. 25 years ago, there was a 3-second gap between what happened in the brain and what happened on the screen. Now there's 300ths of a second. It's like the impact of the biofeedback is stronger and in almost in real time. I mean, because there's nothing we can think of that we're dealing in that would be 300ths of 1 second. So it's happening really quickly. What it looks like is there's lots of different games, if you will, but the thing that I use most often is YouTube. So you pull up a YouTube video, it really makes no difference what, which is really great because it's interesting to people. It can be just a calm, relaxing video with music, or it can be Dude Perfect for children, or Bluey, like whatever the person would like to watch, which is great because that's all you need them to do is watch. If the brain's doing what you want it to, the screen is wide and clear. If the brain kind of darts off and says and makes a frequency, say, that would relate to pain or tension or anxiety, the screen gets smaller and foggier and the volume goes down. So the client is getting constant yeses and nos. It's like when the brain's doing good, you get yes, yes, yes by that clarity of picture. And it's not a conscious thing. The brain is not working to do this. It is subconscious. Just like you don't wake up and think, I wonder how many times my heart needs to beat today. Like, you don't have to think about your brain. Your brain will recognize what you're trying to show it how to do, and it will begin to do it on its own.
That's incredible. So I know a lot of people still feel stuck in fight or flight mode. What are some more natural ways that people can get themselves out of that?
So first thing I want to talk about in regards to that, I want to go back to biofeedback and that. It can take you out of fight, fight, or freeze basically without your participation. Like, you're in the chair, you're watching something. I've watched WWW wrestling for one end with a kid just to keep them here,
Right.
knowing that if I can get them to sit there and I can learn the names of all those guys and who jumped off the ladder and who beat someone over the head, and like, that their nervous system will slowly begin to reset. And really, slowly isn't even accurate, will quickly begin to reset. They'll start sleeping. They will stop having outbursts of anger and rage. They will feel calm and they're able to say, like, I feel really different. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, I just don't even want to hit my brother anymore, or I just don't scream at my mom anymore. And I've had adults say, I haven't had road rage in a month, because that fight, flight, or freeze is flying, that it is out of control all the time. It's just waiting to be triggered, and then boom, the next thing happens. Biofeedback is the best thing I've ever found that will get the brain, even if somebody who says, this is stupid, I don't want to be here, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done, you're dumb, like it doesn't matter. If I can keep them in the chair, it works. That being said, no one thing does everything. So if you will do other things like discontinue your monster drinks and substitute them with water, if you will eat food that is not processed and that is real, if you will make sure that you are hydrated and you've got enough protein on board, and if you add any of the things you talked about before, like physical activity and grounding and getting your, letting the sun hit your face, like all these different things together are nothing short of magical. You just begin to get this effect that you feel like you're living in someone else's body because you're just more comfortable than you've ever been.
That's incredible. It's funny too, because people who don't realize, when I was a lot younger and I was stuck in fight or flight, and I had been in anger management control classes like at the age of 13, and people are like, why can't you just use your tools? Why can't you just breathe? And I'm like, you don't understand. There's no buffer. There's something happens and I react. There is no stopping to pause for 10. I think part of that too was some Lyme rage, but part of it was the fight or flight as well. And it just, people just don't get it. They just think that your impulse control, right? Like that you're out of control. And it's like, you are basically, like, I was not in the driver's seat when that type of stuff happened. And I actually did that type of neurofeedback, and it's given me a lot more control back. So absolutely.
I think the average brain in America idles way too high. And so that brain that just idles on the edge leaves no margin for life. Just a simple event happens and people are in tears, or people are angry or upset, and it's like biofeedback lowers the idle point permanently. It's like you can get yourself into a very comfortable place, and then you have margin. You have margin for all the things that you made a bad grade, or you wrecked your car, or you have a flat tire, or even divorce or death. Like it's like you have to have the space for life to happen.
Absolutely. Amen. Very well put. So we are kind of getting a little close to the end here. If you could leave listeners with one piece of advice about stress, trauma, wellness, what would that be?
Um, Choose one thing and do it until you're good at it. I feel like if I were going to choose one thing, I would choose the shifting of thoughts. There was a lady named Dr. Carolyn Leaf who is a neuro
I
psychologist.
love her stuff. Her app was amazing. She's incredible.
She is incredible. And one of the favorite things of mine that she did was she ran tests on the body, and she tested like all the chemicals in the body and everything. And then she had somebody hold a negative thought. And what she determined that in as little as 3 minutes, you shift every chemical in your body negatively. It creates this cascade of events, like and stress hormones, and like just everything shifts in 3 minutes. But then she did it in reverse and had people think on positive things, and the same thing happened. So the idea that if we take control of our thoughts, and people get very emotional when you challenge their thoughts, because they're like, so you want me to lie to myself? I'm like, no, I want you to consider that two things can be true at the same time. Like your back may really hurt, your wife really may have left, like all of these things really happened, but you also have all of these good things in your life. And we can look, we get to decide where we look, we get to decide where we focus, and wherever we focus, we are going to shift the chemicals in our body. And whatever we see, we're going to see more of. So if we see the negatives, we're going to be stuck in the negatives. And if we see the positives, then it pulls us that direction.
110%. So how, this is like the shameless plug time of the show. Where can people find out more about you, how to work with you? Can you work with people remotely? Probably not, huh?
Well, we do have the means. We have a two-part program. One is Restore Aveda, and the website is restoreaveda.com. That is our more short-term program that gets a quick return for your time. The first 6 weeks are spent doing things from home. We look at specific supplementation. We look at all kinds of different things that you do from home. We meet weekly and we are preparing, whether it might be looking at what am I eating, what am I drinking, what's my attachment style, and how does that impact my relationships. Um, and and then the person is responsible to begin to prepare themselves for the 2 weeks at Restore of Ada. And that is, you will get 5 months of biofeedback in 2 weeks. So you get an AM and a PM. So the impact is enormous. Like people are saying, like day 2, I slept better last night. How can I be sleeping better in 2 days? But we also have other things going on during that day. They're with us from 9 to 3 every day for 2 weeks. And it is, they have heart rate variability, we have PEMFs, we look at food, we eat lunch together, we look at the way fascia stores trauma. Like it is educational, but not therapeutic. It's not, I just believe there are lots of people that therapy is not going to work. But once you do this nervous system reset, then we have a more long-term program, and that program is called Restore Plus. That's available to anybody. Obviously everybody can't come to Ada, everybody can't be in person, but we tried to create something that was inexpensive and accessible. So Restore Plus is only $7 a month, and it is full of all these practical tools. And we do lives. There's lots to read, there's lots to watch. We do question and answers, foster and adoptive parenting groups. We do we do any demographic of people that we get in that we are open to doing something specifically for them. We do live tapping, but we also have scripts and videos for tapping. So it's like just this idea of you all on your own can learn how to reset your own nervous system.
That's incredible. Absolutely. And that's the one thing I love about the Nikki too, when they've come out with a couple different frequencies on stress and anxiety and emotions. And it's been a night and day difference for someone like myself, knowing that if I'm going to go into a stressful moment and I can use these tools, all these tools, right? Because there is no magic bullet, how well that I'm able to control and manage my life, my emotions, everything so much better. So thank you for bringing this topic today. So make sure to go to the show notes to check out her work and where to find out how to work with Dana. But also make sure you go to wearenikki.com/podcast, enter in BioBeats to get 10% off of your Nikki device. But because we love our clients so much, the way we show appreciation is we want to give away a Nikki device and a wellness set of frequencies, a $598 value on each show. So make sure to go to our show notes to find out how to enter and win for that. Thank you for joining us, and make sure to have a healthy day.
Nikki Wellness Technology, delivering frequency enhanced health.
It looks like a little watch, but it's actually a frequency device. It's bioenergetic, so it has this little frequency light situation that goes into your arm.
This is my Nikki. It is a bioenergetic wearable that works by emitting a specific frequency carried by a red light, as you can see on the back. It's aimed at enhancing the body's natural healing process to improve wellness and reducing stress, pain, and inflammation. And to select a frequency, you tap it to wake it up, and then you slide to the screens that list the different frequencies. I have wellness or Lyme on mine. So if we want to pick one, we just tap on it, and you'll see the circles around, and there's a play button, play areas, tap there, and you can see the colors radiating that show that it's playing, and you would also see the red light on the back. And to stop, you just tap it again, And then you can slide and select a different frequency. I'm going to play afternoon. And you just tap, and away you go for your afternoon.
So they're two different things. You have the Nikki device, and then you have the frequency sets. And so right now they have the wellness set of frequencies and they have the Lyme set of frequencies, and both of them are absolutely incredible. I use both sets on a regular basis, so I absolutely love them.
Nikki Wellness Technology. Delivering frequency-enhanced health. We are Nikki.com. The views, information, and opinions expressed in this content are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Freemedica. Freemedica Technologies, Inc. and its employees are not responsible, nor verifies accuracy any of the information contained in the following content. The primary purpose of this content is to educate and inform. This content does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services.